Hey everybody, Pat Mesiti, and I wanted to get in early today because, my heart, my spirit, my mind is stirred and awake and miffed. I'm really miffed because the mainstream media is making this issue of the 7 Christian or religious Polynesian boys about race. Now that really peeves me off, and I'll tell you why. It peeves me off, and I'm allowed to say that. If you get offended by that, I'm sorry. These brothers, just like Israel Folau, have a right to their own convictions, their own beliefs. And just because the big rugby league hero, Pulatua comes out and says, I'm disappointed, about these young guys, these young Polynesian guys, our culture. Hey, listen to me. They have a right to their own convictions, Pulatua, just like you have. This is not about the color of their skin. And what annoys me is the mainstream media, like the Telegraph, incredible journalistic, just an amazing newspaper, full of integrity, by the way, full of integrity. Oh boy, I could go on that one. They're saying that they've got to educate them. What are they? Because they're people of color, they're uneducated, unlike you out there. You are the ones causing division. You are the ones causing division. And let me tell you something. Ian Roberts, their banner-waving poster child, did not get his credibility in the bedroom and where he places parts of his anatomy or where his affection is. He earned respect on the field. That's where he earned respect. Didn't earn it out of the bedroom, what they saw him doing in the bedroom. And by the way, he came out later. And quite frankly, people are allowed to do what they want to do in their bedroom. God has given everyone, listen to me very carefully, you control freak elites and newspaper people. God gave everybody a thing called, watch this, listen, new word for you, free will. So if you want to be gay, knock yourself out. God's not going to stop you. You want to be straight, God's not going to stop you. You want to be trans, God's not going to stop you. You want to believe what you believe, go ahead. Now, Andrew Bolt, who I highly respect, says, well, I don't hold to their Christian views because Christians ought to love. These boys are not saying they don't love these other players. They're saying we don't agree with what they do, and it's against the one that we love the most, which is our God and what God says. I've got people in my world that are gay. I don't have to agree with them. See, here's what people think. That disagreement means I don't love you. Here's another stupid thing our culture, our weak, woke, pathetic, limp culture believes. That correction is disapproval. How many of you are parents out there? Just give me a yes if you're a parent out there. Have you ever corrected your child? Does that mean you disapprove of them? Now, these boys aren't trying to correct no one. What they're trying to do is stand up for what they believe. And while I'm on the subject, it was not up to Des Hasler to get up and apologise. It's up to the Manly board and the goons that made that decision, that caused that decision. You see, the problem is right now, here's what we're trying to replace. In the area of politics, Biden sends out some transgender people to France for Bastille Day. They put activists in the place of defense in this country. It's called sport. And activism in sport has no place. It'd be just like me saying, all right, here's what I want you to do. We had 100 Christians murdered in Nigeria in the last month. I want you all to wear a symbol, but you won't do that, will you? You will not do that. I get it. If it was 100 Muslims, and by the way, I'm not trying to disrespect my Muslim brothers and sisters. That's not what I'm trying to say. Please take this in what I'm saying. Jacinda Ardern would go out and put on her thing and go out there and make because they were slaughtered. But where was she when 100 Nigerians were slaughtered just the other week in church? Where were they? Where are our politicians doing that? You see, this is about activism. Activism. We are bowing at the altar of activism in climate change, which is nothing but an old religion regurgitated. And while I'm on the subject of it, all of you Christians out there bowing to the need of this altar of climate change, let me remind you what the good book says. As long as the earth remains, God said in Genesis, there be light and day, seed time and harvest. God is in control of this earth. The old hymn said, this is my Father's earth. The earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof. He put the sun where it is. He put the sea and told it how far to go. Not Biden, not Greta, not Mr. Albanese. Bill Shorten today comes out and says, oh, you know, the adults are back in control. The adults are in control? You call Palaszczuk an adult? You call Dan Andrews an adult? He can't even remember who signs his checkbooks or the checks in the government. You call adult? You can't even remember what your guy couldn't even remember what the unemployment rate, let alone the cash rate was. Bill Shorten, the only adult thing you've done so far is go out there and change the forms in the hospital. I'm surprised I haven't sacked you for that. But you see, this is not about race, and they're trying to make it about race. I'm telling you, that's what they're doing. They're causing division. And that my brothers and sisters in the Polynesian community, I tell you what, there's Christians, there's non-Christians, there's gays, there's straight, there's all kinds. Just like in the Italian community, the Greek community, and every other community, Aboriginal community, white community. Stop making this about race, you division-causing people. You see, what they're trying to do is conquer by division. And you're not, see, these boys are not allowed freedom of speech, freedom of faith, and freedom of conviction, on which this country was founded. But ever since 2000, what's happened in the last 2-3 years, you haven't been allowed to have your own opinion. The only opinion you're allowed to have is the opinion they tell you you should have. Well, let me tell you something quite frankly from me. And I know many of you out there believe the same. We don't care. We're entitled to our own opinion and our own conviction. And my disagreement on what you do does not mean I don't love you. I'm sure many of you have had disagreements with your spouses or your children. Does that mean you don't love? I'm surprised Andrew Bolt would come up with such a stupid statement from such an intelligent man. Christians are supposed to love. Hey, let me tell you, Christians also are supposed to warn. Christians are supposed to be a watchman over a city. Don't tell me just the Christians are about the love. And who told you that love is in correction? Who told you that love doesn't mean you don't have to agree? Who told you that? Who told you that? Where did you get that from, Andrew Bolt? Now, I've got a lot of respect for you. I watch you all the time. I think you're a great man. This one, you got it wrong. And let me just say again, Ian Roberts earned his respect on the field. And by the way, Ian, the boys don't need you to sit down and lecture them over your stupid jersey. I'll tell you what, I want you to wear a jersey that says, Jesus Christ is Lord. Let's try that. Just try that for me. But you won't do it. You won't do it. You see, they want to force their views on you and your children. And I'm telling you, the adults, and I'm going to say this again, and the church has a lot to answer for because we've stood for nothing. Now, let me hear, I want to say this again. I'm not passing judgment on anyone's sexuality. It is none of my business. None. None. And for those of you that want to throw my past up at me, let me just say this to you guys out there. Have a look at the grace of God. What you're looking at right here right now is the grace of God. So you can take all your newspaper articles and shove them up your blessed assurance that you want to post. That don't bother me. That don't affect me. And the next one of you that does it, I'm going to name you. Or you inbox me thinking, you know, you can get away with it. I screenshot everyone and my lawyers get every one of them. You're looking at grace here. You're looking at grace upon grace upon grace upon grace. So please don't say to me that I'm some judgmental, harsh person. The furthest thing from the truth. And I don't need to explain that anyway. But when 7 Polynesian young men, just like Israel Folau, dare to take a stand, the media make it about race. How come you didn't make an issue of Cameron Munster and some of the other NRL players that go peeing on walls, getting drunk, blow up their nose? You make them heroes. Yet a bunch of guys that stand there and hold convictions, you vilify. You vilify. And you wonder why we got a drug problem. Oh, that's right. I forgot. The Labor Party's okay with drugs. They're opening up shooting galleries. They're okay with that. Seriously. And let me just say, honestly, my passion scares people. But look, you don't have to take my pulse to know that I'm alive. And this is not about passion as much as it is conviction. These 7 rugby league players are entitled. Israel Folau is entitled to his own beliefs. And if you get offended, that's your problem. You see, your actions don't offend me. So why you get up there and get all huffy? No one's excluding you from anything. No one said you couldn't play football. We're just saying, I'm not wearing that badge. It goes against a higher moral law. Let me just remind you. Good book says, love the Lord your God first. First. Now, as people of faith, that's what we do. If you're not a person of faith, that's okay. But let me tell you, this forced compliance has been happening for years in this country. They're doing it now that they're rolling out the climate change. I just saw a thing on, from some CNN reporter, which when I find the video, I'm going to post it. Many of you may have seen it. If you've got it, feel free to post it here in the chat. Of the CNN reporter that says, we're kind of done with COVID. We're done with that. Let's put on the climate change. This is a new one we're going to be rolling out. So they use fear. They use intimidation. They use vilification. The same thing they did in the last 2 years. And it's the same thing activists are doing now. I don't care what you do in your bedroom. It is none of my business. But don't you ever make this about race. I'm going to stand up for my bros. I am. Because the people of New Zealand, Samoa, and all those other great islander people have been great friends to me and wonderful people. And you are making these wonderful Christian young men as if they're doing something wrong when you are the ones doing something wrong. Your evil, satanic, demonic agenda. Now, Paul Kent wrote a brilliant article on it. And by the way, my great friend, James McPherson, congratulations, James. One of his articles got published in The Australian. I think you've got to register to get the article. But, if you don't follow James on Spectator, follow him. Brilliant article on this whole thing. And people say, oh, Pat, you look a bit angry. People aren't angry enough. And whoever told you that anger was a sin anyway? Bob says, be angry and sin not. We need to start getting a little bit of righteous anger around us. Or we're going to hell in a basket here. And when good, solid, young Christian men, that when they play with their hearts. They pray. Now, what you're going to try and ban that as well? Because it offends you? Good Lord, Manly needs more prayer right now than I ever had. And by the way, so do the Bulldogs, but I'll leave that alone. They need prayer, deliverance, and everything else they need. But they're making this a divisive issue. And by the way, listen to me. Do you honestly think wearing a t-shirt with a couple of colours, that's the best you got for inclusion? That's it? Let me just tell you one thing. And I want every one of you to hear this, especially you left-wing, communist, socialist with lipstick media people. And every one of you that dares say that Christianity is not inclusive. Let me tell you what the good book says. Adulterers, fornicators, drunkards, homosexual, this, that, the other thing. And such were some of you. God welcomes everybody. By the way, listen to me very carefully. Some of you say, oh, but Jesus sat down with tax collectors and prostitutes and sinners. Yes. Listen to me, not to affirm their behavior, but to transform them. See, God didn't come to make bad people good. He came to make dead people live. I know you may not agree with that. But Christianity for the last 2,000 years has been the most inclusive, accepting, forgiving, and loving community. But that does not mean we have to agree with everything that is done and said. We are not going to be doormats. Some of you preachers out there, rather than becoming servants of the Most High, you've become doormats for the media and to the politicians. By the way, how's our sacred cows going right now? We need to be a people that understand. We answer to a higher law. And I know many of you are not necessarily people of faith, but you do agree with me on these issues. It's not up to the government to educate my kids on what's right and wrong, or what we find morally sound or not sound. It's up to parents to educate their children. It's not up for the rugby league community. It's not up to Disney. It's not up to the government. It's not up to the education system. Last I remember, it says, train up a child in the way it should go. That's a parental responsibility. And the second one that God put in place was a church. Now, I know people don't like that, but that's okay. That's my conviction. So to all my brothers and sisters from Aotearoa, Fiji, Samoan, and so many others, I want to honour those 7 boys today. I want to honour an Israel. I may not agree with everything, but on this one, they've got a right to freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of conviction, and freedom of faith. Just like you've got a right to do what you want to do in your bedroom. Anyway, guys, please follow us on Instagram. If you go to mesiti.com/links, we've been shadow banned there on Instagram. I don't know what I did. Maybe, I don't know, I picked my nose on media or something on Instagram and they didn't like it. But they keep blocking people that want to follow us. So if you could go to mesiti.com/links and follow us on Instagram, and also on mesiti.com/links, you will see all of our various platforms that you can follow us on. And by the way, I am coming on tour. I'll announce the tour dates. We're going to be having an awakening, and I intend to visit places like Hervey Bay, Maryborough area. I intend to visit places such as Coffs Harbour. People say, why are we going to Hervey Bay, Maryborough? Because I can, because I want to. That's why. Going to Coffs Harbour. We're going to come down to Sydney. Going to be going down to Victoria. Going to be going to South Australia. And there's going to be an awakening. I really have in my heart an awakening. If you are interested in getting along to that, my team is working on a platform where you can register. If you want to be part of those awakening meetings, there's no cost to come along. They're spiritual in nature, and we need an awakening in this country, spiritually, emotionally, in our faith. Good Lord knows we need a revival and an awakening, and I'm pretty fired up and want to bring this to our nation. So if you're keen and you want to know when the dates are, just put I don't know, I'm in the chat. Just put I'm in, and my team will go through all the comments, and we'll probably get in contact with you somehow. Or if you want to inbox me your emails, you can do that. Or just email my team, bookings at mesiti.com. Bookings@mesiti.com. We'll put you on the database and let you know about our awakening rallies. So anyway, hey, let's really be holding these 7 young players. It's tough for these boys that love the game. They shouldn't have to be making this decision. And I've got to say, Des Hasler did an amazing job, but it wasn't up to him. It's the management that got him in this pickle. And they're the ones that ought to be repenting and apologising to everybody. And just remember, mainstream media has lied to you. They continue to lie to you. And without fear and without all this other stuff, they don't sell papers. Just remember, they are fake news. God bless you. And please share this and share this around. I appreciate it. Bye-bye.